This is the day that the Lord has made in Hot Springs National Park. We will rejoice and be glad in it. So be the first to know and get in the flow of what the Lord is doing in Hot Springs today on This is the Day.
Hello and welcome to This is the Day in Hot Springs. We're glad you tuned into this edition of This is the Day because we have a very special show for you today. As you know, Hot Springs is home to Oaklawn Racetrack, the racing festival of the South. And we have with us today a very special guest who got his start at Oaklawn Racetrack because he's from Hot Springs, Arkansas. And we're so proud to have him from Hot Springs, Arkansas, because not only is he a winning jockey, but he also starred in a very special movie, Secretariat. So please welcome Otto Thorworth to This is the Day.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. You know, when I was watching the movie again last night, I noticed I couldn't help but see God's providence in a lot of what happened in the story of Secretariat, because nobody wanted that horse. They overlooked him. They couldn't see his potential. They couldn't see how he could be a winner. But there was a lady there. There was a lady, Penny Chinnery, who saw the horse, who did some research on the horse and thought, this is a winner.
Yeah.
And then God put the circumstances together. He put the people together and the circumstances together to get that horse in shape to be a winner. And I think that's what happens in our own lives sometimes. God pulls circumstances together, people together, and he puts people in place to help us get into our divine destiny. And so I think that kind of happened with you, didn't it? To be able to star in a major feature film with the likes of Diane Lane and John Malkovich is awesome. So please tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Yeah, it was, there were a lot of things God was doing behind the scenes. I'd actually walked away from racing and retired after 14 years of riding and was done with racing. And during that time down, I really came to a point where I was seeking God and seeking His direction for my life. And in that seeking, what I found, He actually pushed me to go back to the races.
Where you really didn't want to go?
I did not want to go. And so I followed His lead after a little resistance and went back, and shortly 2 years later after that, ended up starring in Secretariat.
Well, how did that happen? I mean, how did you get that role? Because you were starring in it as the jockey who rode him through the
Triple Crown.
Triple Crown, yes.
They did the way it all came about was when they got ready to film the movie. Randall Wallace, who's the director, told Disney that he wanted all the scenes to be original footage of horses, you know, no artificial horses.
Right.
I won't name films, but there's been films that used artificial
a lot
horses.
of them.
But he wanted them all to be live scenes. And the production company explained to him there's no such thing as actors who can do what us jockeys do. And he said, well, okay, then find me a jockey who can act. And so that's how it kind of came about. And they held casting calls all across the United States at different locations near racetracks.
Right.
And I responded to one. I was riding at Keeneland at the time.
Now, where's that?
Keeneland is in Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay, Lexington.
And they had an audition in Lexington, and so I went to the audition, and out of 736 jockeys, I was the one that I said God chose for the part. Disney, you know, they got the credit, but God was the one.
God was the one that did that, wasn't he? And you know what? This is really a show about obedience, because when we're obedient to be where God wants us to be, He opens doors.
Yes, He does.
That no man can open. Only God can open those doors, and that's awesome.
And it was truly an open door, and just became such a blessing. The director, Randall Wallace, was a very devout Christian man. All the biblical themes that you see throughout, from the reading of Job at the very beginning of the movie to the different things like "Oh Happy Day" and stuff through it, those were all his doing.
I tell you what, it's an anointed film, because I watched it a lot of of the footage last night over again, and I felt the anointing on it last night when I watched it, and the message is just wonderful. And for those that didn't see it, because it came out in 2010, they can purchase it on probably Amazon.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would encourage anybody who hasn't seen Secretariat to purchase it on Amazon or wherever you can get a hold of it, because it is a very uplifting film, and you can see the gospel story in the film. Also, you had a famous jockey, didn't you, that kind of gave you direction on, you ran into him maybe in an airport?
Yeah,
Would
Pat
you tell us about that?
When I was, after God had spoke to me about going back to racing, I was really struggling with it because I'd only been out of racing about a year and really didn't want to go back. And when he told me that, it really didn't make sense.
What did he tell you?
God just spoke to me, go back to the racetrack.
Go back to the racetrack.
And didn't say what to do, you know, but one thing I knew how to do was ride races. So I was struggling with that, and I run into Pat Day, of all people, who's probably the strongest Christian jockey I ever been around.
And that's good news to hear that.
And I told him what was going on, you know, that I'd really dedicated my life and gotten serious about my walk with the Lord, and that he was calling me back to the track. And in his wisdom and just as, you know, simple as could be, Pat looks at me and he says, Otto, you know how few people there are who are willing to take the gospel to that backside of the racetrack.
Right.
He says, if that's where God's calling you, then I'm sure he has a plan. And did he ever have a plan?
Man, did he have a plan. What a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity he had lined up for you.
Yes.
And you had to be in the right place at the right time.
And I had to answer the call.
You had to answer the call. Well, the director, I watched some footage of the director of Secretariat, and he said this is a horse that was born at the right time for the right season, for the right race.
Yeah.
And I believe that because you don't see horses like that very often that come along like Secretariat.
It was very special, especially the times that I got to actually spend acting, you know, and sitting across from Diane Lane at that table. I mean, that was the funnest day
I bet.
ever. And she was the sweetest person, you know, to get to know, just as personable as talking to you. You know, it wasn't, I made these people out to be these big Hollywood movie stars. And they
They're
put
people.
their pants on one leg at a time, just like we do.
They get up every morning just like we do, don't they, and go to work and everything else. We have one more clip I want us to look at, and it's the happy day. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. And boy, if that doesn't rouse you, nothing will.
No.
And at one point in that clip, you're coming around the final curve and you're going down the stretch, and you look back and there's not a horse in sight because Secretariat won by 31 lengths. And that's awesome. So could you feel the victory of Secretariat when you were riding that horse or winning those races? Or
when I watch it now,
you do?
I can, but when we were filming it,
you were working.
You know, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but you know, we filmed in 1/8 mile increments.
Okay.
So.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like you were.
I started out 31 lengths ahead when we started shooting that shot.
Oh, okay.
But it was still fun, you know, to be able to look over your shoulder and
there's
nobody in sight.
Right.
And I can only imagine what Ron felt, because I've been in situations in my racing career where a horse, I never had one win by 31 lengths, but I had some horse win by 15 or 18 lengths, and it gets quiet. When you get up that far in front of the field, you don't hear the thundering hooves, and it almost makes you nervous. It's like, did a horse go down and everybody's in a pile up behind? It's almost an eerie feeling because it's so quiet when you're used to hearing the whips and the thunder.
Right. Well, I want to know this. Okay. Do jockeys actually talk to each other when they're in a race?
Absolutely.
They do?
There's a lot of
I've seen that in movies.
And a lot of people don't understand that, but you really have to communicate because you're going 38, 40 miles an hour.
On a horse.
Basically standing up on the back of a horse. And sometimes your horse's front feet and their horse's back feet are literally inches apart.
Right.
And if they touch, you're going down. So there's a lot of communication. You know, if I'm coming inside of somebody, I'm going to let them know I'm there, and hopefully they're an honest rider that's not gonna, oh, he's there, I'm gonna shut him off.
Right,
You know, they
yeah.
give you or at least let them know that you're there so that you don't get put in a bad
Right.
situation.
Okay. Well, I think that's awesome that you had that opportunity, and you even had the opportunity to go to Hollywood and be at the premiere of the movie. Was that pretty special?
That was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I'll never forget as we pulled up in the limo, and you know, it's just me and my wife. They picked us up at the Four Seasons Hotel and take us to the premiere. And when the chauffeur come around and opened the door, it was just this barrage of flashes and cameras, and there's 40 photographers, and every one of them are saying, Otto, over here, Otto, over here, Otto, look at here. And I'm like, how do these people know my name?
They're not even supposed to know who I am,
They're not
right?
supposed to know me.
But anyway, that's awesome.
But it was very awesome.
But you've also had some other opportunities since then. You actually wrote, directed. Tell us about a movie. Tell us about that.
Okay, it was a movie called Cowboys and Jesus. We did most of the filming right here in the Hot Springs area. McLeod's Barbecue was one of the places we used for a lot of scenes. Burgers and More. We did some filming down below Carpenter Dam, but it was a modern day telling of the prodigal son.
Okay.
And a story of these two brothers and how they grew up, and as they parted ways, one kept up the family business, who was played by Scott McLeod.
Oh, really? Okay.
And
You had
did
local
a
people play?
fantastic job. I mean, this guy, I couldn't have went to Hollywood, and I was amazed at how good a job he did. And the other brother was played by Scott Mendez, who was the 2007 world champion bull rider.
Oh, my.
He won the national finals, and his character was a bull rider in the film. So we kind of, what we did, we used the Sherwood Pictures model of taking people in their element and playing characters.
Right.
Just like me. I played a jockey in Secretariat. That wasn't a stretch for me. It was pretty easy.
You knew that role, didn't you?
And so that's what we did with this film, and you know, God just dropped it in my lap. It wasn't really something I was when I got done with Secretariat, I didn't like, oh, I want to be in film the rest of my life. But he put it in our lap, and he made all the provisions to buy the equipment, the film equipment, everything, and then brought a cast of volunteer actors together that was just unbelievable.
What are you doing today? What are you doing now?
I'm doing a lot.
God's got you involved.
God's got me in all kinds of stuff. I'm serving as the racetrack chaplain for the Indiana Quarter Horse Association. That's in Shelbyville, Indiana, which their meet starts in a couple weeks, and I'll be there.
You're
all
going to be
summer.
very busy, yeah, when that starts.
I still get on horses every day. A good friend of mine, trainer Tony Granitz, I gallop horses for him, and he's got a really nice filly that I get on. We won a grade 2 at Churchill Downs with her last fall.
Wonderful.
And she's just a pleasure to get on. And then I have another business where I do equine massage therapy. And so
Wow, how did you get into that? Tell us about that. You massage horses?
I don't with my hands. It's a machine. It's electromagnetic pulse therapy.
See how much
and
I know.
It does wonders. And I found it out actually filming Secretariat. A guy came through our barn, and I had some lower back issues, and this guy put this horse massage machine on me, and I mean, overnight my back pain
was fine. It was gone.
And so I wanted to buy one for myself, but the machines were too expensive just for a personal use. So I had to turn it into a business.
Oh, that's a good idea. What a good idea.
Been good.
So how long have you been doing the chaplaincy?
Last year was my first year. This will be my second year as the chaplain. I've been involved in the racetrack chaplaincy ever since I came on the racetrack, you know, because God's always been a part of my life.
Right.
And, you know, it's just a really good fit because I've been where all of these people on the backside, you know, I started off as a hot walker to a groom to a pony person to an exercise rider and to a jockey. So
you came up through the
I went through every step on the ladder, and I've even lived on the backside, you know, with the horses, and so I can associate with these people. And you know, that's one of the problems they find getting chaplains who have been, most of the chaplains
who have
people who have come out of seminary and they haven't had racetrack experience, and it's really hard.
They have no idea how to relate,
to
the people. And you know, we had Rich and Robbie Heffington on. We did one on a story, a show on Oaklawn not long ago, and he came from the track, and he knows a lot about what these people that live there. Well, there's people there that are there year round, and then there's people that come in for the season, and they travel from track to track, and he knows what that's like.
Right.
And they're having some really good things happening behind the scenes at Oaklawn right now. They've had a couple of owners that have received salvation recently, and I mean, it's like there's a little mini revival going on behind the track. And I was so impressed with it when I got out there. I didn't know what the chaplaincy of would consist of. I thought, well, they'll have an office, and whoever has a problem will come by, but there's a lot that they do. They're very involved, and they show the love of Christ to everyone that they come across, and I really think it's wonderful. What do you see for your future, Otto?
Man, I don't know. I'm in a season right now where I really feel like some change is coming.
But you don't know what?
I don't really know what. I've got another vision for another film.
Wow, can you tell us about that?
I hadn't even started writing it yet, but it's Childlike Faith, and it's about a kid who goes to a healing revival with his mother, a young kid, 10, 12 years old, and he sees people get healed, and he just gets that childlike faith revelation that, any of us can pray for people and see God move in their life, and he starts moving
out on that,
moving in it, and I'm excited about it, but it's just a matter of getting the time to do
it. I know, that's it, finding the time to do what he calls us to do.
Years ago, before God even called me back into racing, he gave me a vision for men's ministry, and I haven't lost that vision, but it's a vision that's going to take
him bringing it about.
Bringing it about, because it's not going to be something that's cheap. It's going to, the vision he's given me is a big vision for it, but it's discipling men and bringing them, into a deeper, more intimate relationship with Christ, and doing it through things that men like to do, such as fishing, hunting, outdoors activities.
Exactly.
To draw them into it.
And a lot of times people that aren't saved don't realize that living for Jesus is really a lot of fun. There's a lot of excitement in it. There's your ups and your downs and everything.
Right.
He takes us through the valleys, and he takes us to the mountaintops. Right. But you never know what door he's going to open next.
Right.
I never dreamed he would open this door for me to do a TV show. And then he supplied everything I needed for the show, especially the people that are so wonderful to work and help me bring the show to the air every week.
It's just like me. Growing up in school, I was an athlete. I played sports, but I always thought that the drama club was for people who didn't have athletic ability.
Right.
And then here I end up in a movie,
And you had absolutely no experience.
I had no experience.
You just jumped in and hoped you could swim, right? Yeah. That's what I do. Hop in, and Jesus, you got to get me to the shore. Amen. Well, we're so thankful that you were with us today. It's been so much fun having you on the show.
It's been a pleasure.
And when you come back to Hot Springs, let us know so we can get you back on and see what God's done in your life since now. And so we thank you for being with us today on This Is the Day. Remember, be in the know and get in the flow on This Is the Day in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Jesus said, "Truly, truly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of his own accord, but only what he sees the Father doing." If Jesus had to look to the Father for guidance, would it not be the same for each of us? This Is the Day is here to highlight where God is working, with the prayer that you will see God at work and that you will join him in his work. To do so is a tremendous blessing. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.